Hi, I'm Tomek from StorageFreak.net. In today's video I'd like to talk about thin and thick LUNs, giving you an example using EMC VNX. So in an essence I will talk about thin provisioning just to make sure you understand what that is and when it's very handy to use it, and when it can get actually a little bit tricky and risky to use it. About today's lab, I will create separate storage pools for both thin and thick LUNs, so you could closely look up at the storage used in both cases and notice the differences. Later on, I will create LUNs and put some example data on it. This video will not be very long, and in general it will cover thin provisioning with a real-time example, so enjoy! Let's get going. Accessing our lab environment, I've got here Windows 2003 with actually two partitions. One is the physical hard drive, basically with the operating system, and one is the personal data with a 10 GB file inside. It's actually a little bit less than 10 GB, but this file we'll use to test our newly created LUNs. Okay, let's log into EMC Unisphere. For that purpose I will use sysadmin global account. Alright, we are in. This is our VNX I'm going to work with today. And let's just quickly look what we are dealing with. Within the storage groups, we've got 3 storage groups. This one, as you know, is a special storage group for the data movers. We will not handle that today. Windows storage group, that's actually our storage group with our Windows host and one LUN with 20 GB in total. Let's just compare that. Alright, that will be this one. And we also have the third storage group, this one, but we will not deal with it as well today, so just ignore it. Okay, let's move on to our LUNs. We've got only one LUN created right now, which is 20 GB in total and actually allocated to our host. Let's move on to storage pools. As you can see, there's none, 0. So how come we see some LUNs? Well, we can navigate to the RAID groups. Just to discover, we've got the RAID group over here ready with one LUN inside. It's actually our LUN. Okay, so let's start with the first task. Our first task for today will be to create 2 storage pools, one for the thin LUNs and another one for the thick LUNs. So you can navigate to storage configuration, storage pools, and just click the create button. First one will be pool for thin LUNs, and let's just use only SAS disks. Alright. This question we see right now is only because we've got scheduled auto trimming, but actually if you look closely, in this case we use only one type of disk, so actually auto trimming doesn't make much sense, but actually it's not an issue. Let's just continue. Alright, the creation is in progress. It will take a couple of minutes for the pool to create, but we can in the meantime create another one. This will be pool for thick LUNs, and let's use the same configuration. Yes, continue. Alright, now we'll take maybe 1, maybe 2 minutes just to complete. Let's wait. And the pools are completed. As you can see, we've got 2 pools. Both are the same in size, the same free capacity, and the same amount of allocated capacity. Let's move on to another task. Another one will be to create 2 LUNs, one the thin LUN and another one the thick LUN. For that, let's navigate to Storage and LUNs. And click the Create button. In my example, I'll create both LUNs the same in size, 20 GB. 20. First is pool for thick LUN, so make sure this will be a thick LUN. To make it thick, you have to disable thin, basically, quite easy. Just one LUN. Let's name it thick LUN. Oh, sorry for the typo. Thick LUN. Alright. Apply. Yes. Let's go ahead and create another one, this time the thin LUN, which is more or less default one. Let's make it 21 GB total capacity, so we can actually easily recognize which one is which from the Windows point of view. And let's name it thin LUN. Now, one more thing that I forgot, actually, we have to choose to make it thin. Everything's alright. Let's continue. Now, that's the tricky part about the EMC Unisphere. This window will not close by itself, and there is no close button, so actually you can close it by clicking this button and just go with cancel. It will not cancel the tasks. The LUNs are already created. As you can see, they are both ready. Now you can notice which one are pull LUNs and which one are rate LUNs by this here, this small pictures, right? But how to tell which one is thick and which one is thin? Well, actually, by the default view you don't see it. You can go here and choose columns. You have to select thin option, just go with OK, and as you can see, thin LUN has the thin option on. This is the thin provisioned LUN. Rate group LUN is thick by default. It just cannot be thin when it's built upon rate group. We've got our thick LUN, which is actually thick. When we go for the properties, you can actually see that the user capacity is 20 GB, and that's all we know. But if we go for the thin LUN and go for the properties, we see a little bit more. We see that the user capacity is 21 GB, one more, that's how we created it, but we actually additionally see the consumed capacity. Now this is basically the smallest possible amount of consumed capacity of newly created LUN. If you are interested about this number, just go for the documentation from EMC site. Let's navigate to storage and storage pools. And here is the actually interesting thing about thin and thick LUNs. As you can see, the pool for thick LUN is almost completely consumed. 27 GB is consumed because the thick LUN will consume the full possible capacity at the very beginning of creation. It will not take less, it will not take more, it will take exactly how much it's supposed to take. Thin LUN works a little bit different. It takes very little capacity. As you can see over here, we've got very little taken, and it will allocate additional capacity when it's actually used by host. This is very important to understand, that the thin LUN will only allocate as little space as possible at the beginning. So for example, if you've got 100 gigabyte LUN and you will just put 10 gigabyte or 10% data on it, it will try to allocate as little as 10% plus a little bit more on the physical drives. Actually, you can navigate to my blog on storagefreak.net and just search for fin. You will find the first article with EMC VNX pool LUNs, fin versus thick, and you can actually go ahead and read it just to make sure you understand what's the difference between those two. Okay, let's do something more fun. Let's allocate those two LUNs that we created. Those two to our storage group and mount it to our Windows host. Let's first go with the thick LUN. There are actually at least two ways to add the LUN to the storage group. One of those, you can go for the storage LUNs and click the add to storage group. First you obviously have to choose which LUN. I don't like this option because you don't have much choices. You can just add it to the storage group, click OK, and that's basically all you can do. Another way, and the way that I think you're supposed to use, is to go for just wait a second. Okay, just go for host and storage groups. Choose the storage group and click the connect LUNs. Now, why is it better option to do it this way? Because you can actually choose the host LUN ID option. Check which ones are used and which one you want to use. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it's quite important to know which host LUN ID you are using. Let's go with 2 in this example. Okay, we've got our Windows storage group with 1 host and 3 LUNs. Let's now navigate to our server manager. This is actually our Windows host right now. Within the server manager, you can go for the storage and disk management. And okay, I see that it already see our newly added LUNs. If you don't see them, you can just go right click and rescan disks. As you can probably remember, the 20 gigabyte is thick LUN and the 21 gigabyte is thin LUN. First we have to make them online. Initialize both of them, right? And create some partitions. Let's create simple volume. This is 20 gigabytes, so it's going to be, we can use letter F, and let's name it thick partition. NTFS is right. While we're waiting, we can try to start with, oh no, we have to wait a little bit. Okay, this one is formatting. I think we can start with another one. Let's create a simple volume again. This is 21 gigabytes, so this is thin LUN. Let's call it thin. Let's go back one step. We cannot use F letter because this one is going to be used by this disk, so we actually have to choose another one to avoid the error. Let's go with G. Thin NTFS as well is okay. Finish. Okay, in the meantime I see our thick partition is actually ready. Let's navigate to computer and check it. We've got our thick LUN, thick actually disks ready, and let's wait for another one. Okay, another partition is ready. Let's check if we can actually use them. Let's create a simple text file. This one is working fine. Let's go for the another disk. This one is fine as well. Now let's navigate back to our EMC VNX, actually the Unisphere. We see our two LUNs over here, and let's check again the consumption of the storage pool since we created the file systems on them. As you can see, the numbers of allocated storage is more or less the same. It's actually a little bit different, but still thin LUN is using a lot less than the thick LUNs. You can actually go for the thin LUN over here and go for the properties to check exactly how much space it consumes right now. As you can see, the amount of space is 2.5 GB. Okay, let's try to put some files on that. As I show you at the beginning, we've got here 10 GB file ready. Let's use this one. Let's first copy it to the thin LUN. Oh, sorry, that's the thick LUN. And once this is in progress, let's start another one to the thin LUN. So as you can see, now we are copying the same file to our thick partition and thin partition. It will take a little bit of time. I will pause the video and continue once it's done. Okay, the copying is completed. Let's just check it. As you can see, in both of them, the same amount of storage is used. Here is almost 10 GB, and in another partition, same situation. Now let's move back to VNX and let's refresh the view of the storage pools. As you can see, the pool for thick LUNs has exactly the same amount of allocated space, whereas the thin LUN or the pool for thin LUN has 10 GB more. Let's do one more trick just to show you the advantage of using the thin provisioning. As you can see, the pool for thin LUN has 37 GB in total. Only 20 of them 20 GB is available right now. Let's navigate to storage LUNs. And let's create additional 20 GB. Sorry, that's not the pool. It should be this one. As you can see, available capacity is 20 GB. Let's use the 20 GB. But let's create 5 LUNs and name it thin LUNs, starting with 1. You have to specify the ID because the LUN name has to be unique. Since we are creating 5 LUNs, all of them has to have a unique name. And make sure the thin option is actually chosen. Well, if it's not, the operation will not, as you can see, there is an error. The operation will not be completed because there is not sufficient space, right? But let's say we want to create the thin LUNs. It takes a couple of minutes. As you can see, we've got 5 LUNs, all of them, each of them 20 GB in total created. So this is 100 GB out of what, 20, right? And to show you that it's actually working, let's go ahead and add those LUNs to our storage group. You can actually move back within Windows to Server Manager and go for the disk management and rescan disks. If you don't see any changes, sometimes it just needs an additional minute or two to reload, but as you can see, we've got 5 disks over here. All of them have 20 GB, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one over here. Let me just quickly add them as the partitions. I will just pause the video just not to make it too long. Okay, I finished. I created 5 partitions with fin 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. As you can see, all of them are 20 GB in capacity and they've got free space of 19.91. You can actually go to computer and see all of those partitions. So as you can see, we've got 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and here's another 20, 120 GB of space available right now. But we know, based on the EMC data, that we don't have actually 120 GB available space in the physical hard drives because we used thin provisioning and we over provisioned. Now we can navigate to EMC Unisphere and let's go back for the storage pool. That's the one we are interested in right now, pool for thin LUNs. As you can see, this one is consumed in about 80%, exactly 80%, which is quite okay. But the thing that you should pay attention to is the subscribed percentage. As you can see, we are almost 400 percentage wise oversubscribed. That's way above the safety limit, but it is possible. Now, what would happen if we actually would like to consume, what would happen if we actually would like to consume those 100 GB of data? Well, the answer is simple. We cannot, because our thin LUN has currently like less than 10 GB available. So once we will try to fill them up, we'll just hit the error that there is lack of space, and actually that's getting nasty. That's why you, as a storage administrator, when you're using the thin provisioning and oversubscription, you have to always pay attention to the percentage of consumed capacity or the number of the free capacity, and when it's getting really full, you have to extend the you have to expand the whole storage pool. Sometimes you need to add additional spindles, additional hard drives, doesn't matter what's the cost, but you have to pay attention that it is very important not to hit 100%. To extend, you can actually extend the pool in the fly. You just choose how many drives you would like to add. Let's add 5 SAS disks only. Let's click OK. And the expansion of the storage pool will go in the background. Now, there's one more thing I would like to talk about, but let me just first wait for this one to complete. Let me just try to refresh the view. Okay, as you can see, our pool for thin LUN is extended right now and we are consumed in 40%. That's more or less safe, but this number is still way too high, 192% oversubscription. It should, I think, well, it depends on the company's policy, but I think somewhere between 100 and 130 is quite safe if the consumption is not that high, right? Anyway, another thing, or the last thing I would like to show you today is how to actually reclaim the free storage. So the question you are probably asking yourself is, what would happen if we go back to our LUN and delete this 10 GB file? Would we would we get the free space back in the LUN and then free space back in the storage pool? Well, the answer is yes and no at the same time, because it all depends on the OS level. In this case, we've got Windows 2003, and within Windows 2003, it will not, let's say, inform the storage array that this space is free again. Actually, for the EMC VNX to be free, it should be filled up with zeros, and this is not the case right now. But there's additional tools, actually extended tools, you can use to reclaim the free space. For example, we can go with the sdelete tool from the Microsoft. You can actually go, let me just fire up Google first. Let's look for sdelete tool. From the Microsoft.com, and you can basically download it over here, and it's quite easy to use. It's just sdelete, then you have to use the option -z to zero free space, and then specify what you would like delete, either the file or the whole partition. But remember, if you do the whole partition, obviously you will delete all the files which are inside of it. Well, I know it's getting a little bit more complicated with Windows 2003, but for example with Windows 2012 you can actually choose it to do it automatically. So whenever the user will free some space, it will be free up automatically on the EMC VNX level as well. Alright, that's basically all I wanted to show you today. What you have to remember is what the thin provisioning is and how to use it, what is oversubscription, and what are the consequences, either the advantages and disadvantages of using this solution. Thanks for watching, and as always, all comments and suggestions are most welcome. You can either comment the video or find me on my blog with www.storagefreak.net. Alright, that's it. Thank you.